Hello everybody, welcome to Programming with C++. We have almost finished with all the basic and important concepts of C++. So let us start off with programs. All important programs we'll be doing. So the first program is swapping two numbers. What do you mean by swap of two number? It is nothing but interchanging the values which they hold. Like for example, if A is a variable which holds 10 and B is another variable which holds 20, we'll interchange the values. And variables are, as we know, variables are meaningful name given to data storage, location in computer memory. So once we declare a variable, it gets stored in the computer memory and it's nothing but the name. Like if you have A equals to 10, which means that A is in a memory cell, there is a variable called A. A is nothing but the name of that memory cell and 10 is the value which it is holding. So here we interchange two values, and as I said, two variables A and B, each holding, like A is holding 10 and B is holding 20 respectively. So there is a memory cell whose name is A and which holds 10. So just imagine a memory cell as a container or something whose name is A and holding 10, and another container called B. The name of the container is B, which is holding 20. So what we have to do is we have to just swap these values like this. 20 should come here and 10 should go there. So let us see how we do it. Like how the program should be is initially you should get A equals to 10 and B equals to 20, and after the program is executed, after swap, you should get A as 20 and B as 10. So that's the concept of swapping two numbers. Let us see how we can do it. We can't directly swap because values get overwritten. For example, if we say A equals to B, which means B's value is returned to A. It's like this, from right side to left side, that is B's value is put to A. If that happens, just as I said, take a container and the B's value is put to A. Then what happens? As we said, A now holds the value of B, but B holds the value of itself. It's not holding the value of A. And we can't again put the value of A to B because A's value is lost. We should have stored A's value in some other place or some variable. Hence we use a temporary variable. In the temporary variable, we put the value of A first so that it holds the value of A and that value can be used further. So as I said, first we write temp equals to A, that is A's value is put to temp. In this container, A's value is stored. Then we do this process, that is A equals to B. That time B's value is stored to A. Once that happens, now as I said, after this point we should have stored the value of A to B, and here we lost because we didn't store it, but here we have stored it in temp. Hence we do B equals to temp. Hence now from this container it goes to B. So right now temp is not used, but A holds the value of B and B holds the value of A. So for more understanding, let us assume that the container becomes empty. So initially A is 10 and B is 20 and temp is an empty container. Let us see how it happens. Like what we assume is once the transformation happens, the container is empty. Initially A's value is stored to temp, that is temp equals to A. So A's value is put to temp and this box becomes empty. Once that happens, now because this is empty, you can directly transfer the value of B to A. Now B is also empty, as you see, and temp is holding the value of A. So you can put the value from this temp to B. So the main concept is these three statements, which is important in this swapping. Let us see the program. The program is, as you know, it has the header files and main function, clear screen and all, and you declare the variables, which is A, B and temp, as you saw. Now we ask the user to enter two numbers. So we have cout enter two numbers and the user inputs two number. So that statement gets printed on the output screen, enter two number. Here the user has inputted A as 2 and B as 4. So respectively we store the values in A and B. So that is C in A and B. Once that happens, we just print the value of A and B so that the user gets to know what initially A and B is storing. So you have cout A equals to the value of A, B equals to value of B. So the output statement will be A equals to 2 and B equals to 4. After this swap happens, which is temp equals to A, A equals to B and B equals to temp. As we know what is happening in these three statements, the values of A and B get swapped, but temp value is not needed for us in the final after swap. So values after swapping is so values after swapping is A equals to 4 and B equals to 2. This happens. Next is adding n numbers. N means n can be anything. So n depends on the user. If you have to add, if the n value is known, that is value of n is known. Like we know we have to add some 5 numbers or 10 numbers. That time you use a for loop, because for is indefinite looping, because in for loop you know how many number of times you enter the loop. In adding n number, you initialize sum to 0, which is a very important thing inside the main. That is because otherwise, if not initialized to 0, sum will hold some junk value. So once it holds some junk value, as you add the number to it, you get a wrong output. And then you ask the user how many number do you want to enter. So if the user will enter some number, that is stored to n. And then after that, you have enter n numbers. So here the value of n gets printed. For example, here the user says he wants to input 4 number and we ask enter 4 number. And then the other variables what we have initialized is I is a loop variable, n is the number as you saw, and sum equals to 0. You know what is sum used for, to calculate sum, and num is the number each time the user enters. And then we enter the loop. In the for condition we have for I equals to 0 to n I plus plus. Why is it n? Because we know that the user will input n numbers, because the value of n is known and the user wants to calculate sum of those many numbers. And once you enter the loop, that first time I is 0 and we ask the user to enter numbers, right? Here before the loop we tell enter n numbers, so the user will start entering those many numbers, and as the user enters the number, you store each number by number in num and calculate the sum equals to sum plus num. Initially sum is 0 and num value is added to it, and that becomes the sum for the first time. And then again I gets incremented, I plus plus, I becomes 1, and so on. You calculate the entire value, sum of all numbers, and finally sum will hold the sum of all the numbers entered, and you print the value. Like here, after the user has entered 4 numbers, which is 2, 1, 0 and 23, you get the output sum equals to 26. If the value of n is unknown, that is the user would not know how many how many numbers he wants to enter. It depends during the execution of the program only. Like as the user enters, he might feel at any point of time that he wants to enter more number or stop. So at that time, what we do is, to enter the loop, initially we have something called like the other header files all remains the same, only the main looping would change. Initially you have op equals to 1, op equals to 1. Why is that? Because you have to enter the loop. So while op, which means while 1, because op holds the value 1, while 1 is true, you enter the loop for the first time, and then you ask the user enter number. User would enter the number that is stored to num, and you calculate the sum also. Sum equals to sum plus num, and you know sum holds value 0 for the first time, and then you ask the user, do you want to enter more? And you say 1 is for S and 0 is for no. So if the user wants to enter more numbers, he would enter 1. So whatever he enters is getting stored to OP. And again you go to the while loop and check while OP. If the user wants to enter more number, he would enter 1. So it becomes while of 1 is true. And this goes on until the user feels he wants to stop entering the number. That point of time user would input 0. So at that point of time, while of 0 is false, so you come outside the loop and you can print the value of sum. Okay, next let us learn the program of Fibonacci series. First we have to know what a Fibonacci series is. It is a series in which each number is sum of two preceding numbers. Okay, so sum of I mean, value of a number is nothing but sum of two preceding values where the first and the second numbers are 0 and 1. So initially the series starts with 0 and 1. So the next number, or you calculate the next number, which is nothing but the sum of first two numbers. So next number sum of these two, which is 0 plus 1 is 1. So we calculate Fibonacci series of first three numbers. How do you calculate the Fibonacci series of the next? So next is, you have to calculate after 0 and 1, 0, 1, 1, we calculated three numbers. After that you add the two numbers, that is 1 and you get 2. And to calculate the next number, you add 1 plus 2, which is 3, and you get 3 as the next number. To calculate after that, it is 3 plus 2, which is 5. And okay, for the next number, it will be 3 plus 5, which is 8. So on it goes. So you can have a formula saying Fn equals to Fn minus 1 plus Fn minus 2 for any value of f, for any value of n, where f of 0 is 0 and f of 1 is 1. Okay, let us see an example how it works. For example, f of 2, which is the second Fibonacci number which you have to calculate. F of 2 is f of 0 plus f of 1, which is 1. That's how we calculated this 1, 0, 1, 1. Okay, let us take the first one, because 0 and 1 is the first two numbers which we have. So we assume 0 is 1. I mean 0 is the first number and 1 is the second. And how do you calculate next? Next is sum of first plus second. So initially 0 is first and second is 1. So next is calculated by adding these two, which is next equals to first plus second. Then what happens is, we have calculated these three Fibonacci numbers 0, 1, 1. To calculate the next number, this becomes the first, like 1 becomes the first, this happens, and the next one becomes the second, like here first and second. And to calculate the next number, it will be sum of these two now, first plus second. So the main three statements for calculating a number is next equals to first plus second, because each time you calculate the value of next, each time how do you calculate the value of next, which is nothing but first plus second, and each time the first and second keeps shifting, like here from 0 to 1, the first shifted and the value of second shifted from 1 to 1. So it keeps on going. Hence here first second value is put to first, that is first equals to second and second equals to next. So these three are the statements required for calculating. Okay, let us see what say the statement, segment of C++ code. Initially first is 0 and second is 1, and next here have to calculate. Hence we initialize three variables and we ask the user enter the number of terms to calculate. Here it keeps on going. The Fibonacci series is it's a series because it keeps on going. If the user says he wants to calculate the first 5 number, then it goes from 0, 1, 1, 2 and 3. It will stop up to that. Hence, after the user enters the number of terms he wants to calculate, you just print Fibonacci series R and you enter the loop n number of times. And each time you print only the value of first. That is because if you want to print the Fibonacci series of n number, you should print n numbers. To print n numbers, you enter the loop n number of times and print only the first number at a time. So initially I first holds the value 0, so 0 gets printed, and then next equals to first plus second. What is first and second? First and second is 0 and 1 initially, so next becomes 1, and first equals to second, second equals to next. That happens, and then again I gets incremented. So at that point of time, because first equals to second is there, right? First is 1, so 1 gets printed, that is 0 and 1 gets printed. And again the same thing happens, the value of second becomes first and next becomes second. So next value is 1 is getting printed, and similarly 2. But something disadvantage or something is that finally, like final time you enter the loop, you print only the value of first, but simply you will calculate all these three statements. But to make things easier, we just enter the loop n number of times, and each time we print only the value of first. So by this we have done all important programs and everything, and in each of the videos there will be some program segment, C++ segment. Compile them with using edifiers and some important statements. Just add to them, compile and see. Thank you.